Puka Nacua was ranked as the 23rd best wide receiver in the 2019 college football recruiting class, so where the 22 receivers ranked higher than him 6 years later. Well, to start, just in front of him at 22 is David Bell coming into Indianapolis, Indiana, who committed to play for Purdue. And with the Boilermakers, he was immediately dominant, being named a consensus All-American in the Big Ten Receiver of the Year. And that allowed him to be picked in the third round of the 2022 NFL Draft by the Cleveland Browns, where sadly he was a bust in the NFL and was forced to medically retire. Then at 22 is Treylon Burks coming into Warren, Arkansas, who committed to play for Arkansas. And during his 3 years with the Razorbacks, he improved every year, being named a first-team All-SEC selection in 2021. And that allowed him to be picked 18th overall in the 2022 NFL Draft by the Tennessee Titans, where he was a complete bust with them for 3 years before signing with the Commanders this year, where he only has one catch. Then cracking into the top 20 is Micah Pittman coming out of Calabasas, California, who committed to play for Oregon. And he just never really got an opportunity in his 3 years with the Ducks, transferring to Florida State in 2021, where he also didn't do much. And following that, he transferred to play for Utah, where he never scored another touchdown in college football. And after 6 seasons, he never made it to the NFL and is now currently a pilot and runs a YouTube channel. Then at 19 is Ramel Keaton coming out of Marietta, Georgia, who committed to play for Tennessee. And he improved during his 5 years at Tennessee, becoming a pretty solid player in 2023, but sadly went undrafted in 2024, signing with the Raiders. And he got to play in 8 games during his rookie season with the Raiders before he's now currently on the Titans practice squad. And just in front of him at 18 is Elijah Higgins coming out of Austin, Texas, who committed to play for Stanford. And he improved every year during his 3 years with Stanford, going on to be picked in the 6th round of the 2023 NFL Draft by the Dolphins. He never played for Miami, though, being released and signing with the Cardinals, where he's played for the last 3 years. Just in front of him at 17 then is Jamison Williams coming out of St. Louis, Missouri, who committed to play for Ohio State. And sadly, he just never really got an opportunity, with the Buckeyes transferring to Alabama in 2021, where he had an insane breakout season. He was named the SEC Co-Special Teams Player of the Year and a first-team All-American, which allowed him to be picked 12th overall in the 2022 NFL Draft. And since then, he's been a great receiver through his first 4 years with the Lions. Then at 16 is Trey Palmer coming out of Kentwood, Louisiana, who committed to play for LSU. And he was just kind of disappointing in his first 3 years with the Tigers, transferred to Nebraska, where he had a crazy breakout season in 2022. And that allowed him to be picked in the 6th round of the 2023 NFL Draft by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where he played for 2 seasons, being a solid receiver. After that, though, he was sadly released, signing with the Saints practice squad, where he's yet to play at all this NFL season. And then cracking into the top 15 is Dylan Wright coming into Mesquite, Texas, who committed to play for Texas A&M. And after never playing at all for the Aggies, he transferred to Minnesota, where he was solid in his 2 years there before transferring to TCU. Sadly, though, in his last year of college football at TCU, he was just kind of disappointing. And coming in at 14 is Jeremiah Payton coming in at Neptune Beach, Florida, who committed to play for Miami. And he just never sadly got an opportunity in his first 2 years with the Hurricanes, transferring to Alabama A&M, where he never played college football again. And he last played in 2024 for the Jacksonville Sharks of the IFL. Then at 13 is Wan'Dale Robinson coming in at Frankfort, Kentucky, who committed to play for Nebraska. And he was a good player in his first 2 years with the Cornhuskers before transferring to Kentucky in 2021, where he had a crazy breakout season. And that allowed him to be picked in the 2nd round of the 2022 NFL Draft by the New York Giants, where he's become a pretty solid receiver through his first 4 years with them. Then just in front of him at 12 is Jake Smith coming out of Scottsdale, Arizona, who committed to play for Texas. And he was actually the National Gatorade High School Player of the Year, but in his first 2 years with the Longhorns, he just never really did that much. So following that, he transferred to USC, where he never played for the Trojans, and then transferred to Arizona State, where in his last year of college football there in 2024, he was disappointing. Alright guys, real quick, if you guys aren't subscribed, just make sure to subscribe. It costs you absolutely nothing and helps out the channel immensely. Thank you guys, and back to the video. And now getting back into it, at number 11 is Trajan Bridges coming out of Carlton, Texas, who committed to play for Oklahoma. And he was just extremely underwhelming in his first 2 years with the Sooners, transferring to Central Arkansas, where he had a breakout season in 2024. And following that in 2025, he entered the transfer portal but never found a home. And cracking to the top 10 is Frank Ladson Jr. coming out of Miami, Florida, who committed to play for Clemson. And he was just extremely underwhelming in his first 3 years with the Clemson Tigers, transferring to Miami in 2022, where he had his best season. After that in 2024, he transferred to play for UMass, where he never played college football again. And then at 9 is Joseph Nagata coming out of Folsom, California, who committed to play for Clemson. And in his 4 years of college football with the Clemson Tigers, he was a solid player, but sadly went undrafted in 2023, signing with the Eagles. And after that, he's yet to play a single snap in the NFL and is currently playing for the Calgary Stampeders. And just in front of him at 8 is Jordan Whittington coming out of Cuero, Texas, who committed to play for Texas. And in his 5 years with the Longhorns, he was a good player but was never great, going on to be picked in the 6th round of the 2024 NFL Draft by the Los Angeles Rams. And since then, he's actually been a pretty good returner with the Rams, but hasn't done much as a receiver. Then at number 7 is Dominic Blaylock coming out of Marietta, Georgia, who committed to play for Georgia. And in his first couple years with the Bulldogs, he just never really got an opportunity, transferring to Georgia Tech in 2023, where he did solid last year of college football. And then coming in at 6 is Kyle Ford coming out of Orange, Orange, California, who committed to play for USC. And he was good, but just not amazing in his 3 years with the Trojans, transferring to UCLA in 2023, where he also was just solid. Then following that in 2024, Kyle Ford transferred back to USC, where he did disappointing last year of college football. Then cracking into the top 5 is George Pickens, coming into Hoover, Alabama, who committed to play for Georgia. And during his time with the Bulldogs, he was a good receiver there, going on to be picked in the second round of the 2022 NFL draft for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And through his first 3 years in the NFL with Pittsburgh, he was a good receiver, being traded off to the Cowboys, where he's now one of the best receivers in the entire NFL and is dominating 2025. And then coming in at 4 is Theo Weiss, coming in at Allen, Texas, who committed to play for Oklahoma. And in his first 3 years with the Sooners, he was actually an amazing player, but just never really got an opportunity, transferring to Missouri in 2023. And in his last 2 years of college football with the Missouri Tigers, he was actually great, but sadly went undrafted in 2025, signing with the Dolphins practice squad. Then cracking into the top 3 is Garrett Wilson, coming into Austin, Texas, who committed to play for Ohio State. And during his 3 years with the Buckeyes, he improved every year, becoming a great player there, and would be picked 10th overall in the 2022 NFL draft by the New York Jets. And his career in New York got off to an extremely hot start, as he won NFL Offensive Player of the Year, and since then he's been a great receiver, having over 1,000 receiving yards in every season despite bad quarterback play. And then coming in at 2 is Brew McCoy, coming out of Santa Ana, California, who committed to play for Texas. And he never played for the Longhorns, transferring to USC, where he played for 1 season before transferring to Tennessee. And in his 3 years of college football with the Volunteers, he was a pretty solid receiver, but went undrafted in 2025 and was medically forced to retire from football. And finally, at number 1 is Jaden Hasselwood, coming out of Ellenwood, Georgia, who committed to play for Oklahoma. And he was good, but just kind of underwhelming in his first 3 years with the Sooners, transferring to Arkansas in 2021. And in his senior season with the Razorbacks, he had a breakout year, but went undrafted in 2023, signing with the Eagles, where he never got to play in the NFL.